Musiker-Board, Justin and Christoph. Christoph is your winner of the Elixir strings. Thank you for providing them.
Of course.
And since we talked at NAMM show, where you said go out and test them, that's what Musiker-Board did.
Yep. And
here we are at Musikmesse to give you some feedback and perhaps even get some answers if you have them optional available. So the first area we want to cover is the feel side of the players, and they felt softer than their expected or regular strings. Is there a specific technical reason behind that?
Well, it's definitely going to feel a little bit different. Maybe if you were an Elixir player before, I think these will feel different than what you've noticed before. Some players find the tension to be a little bit different, although technically the way the math works out, it shouldn't be. But every guitar is a little bit different, every string's a little bit different, every construction's a little different. So the ratio of coral wire to wrap wire can have a big impact, even though the math may work out to the same tension. But the feel, the way it bends, the way it vibrates, the way it moves, is going to be a little different brand to brand. So if you got a Strat with a 25.5-inch scale, that's of course going to be different than maybe a Les Paul with a 24 3/4. So if you got a 24 3/4 scale guitar and it feels a little light, I would go up a gauge. So maybe if you're using a 9 to 42, maybe try 9 to 46, or maybe even a 10 to 46, just to get that additional tension there to adjust for the scale length. But like I said, every brand's a little different, every construction's a little different, and all those little differences add up. And it may not work out in the math for the tension, but the feel might change a little bit in the way that it moves under your fingers.
To make room for the coating, did you have to make room inside the coating so that they're not getting much thicker than they should be?
Good question. The coating is so thin that it's sort of negligible to the thickness of the whole string. So when we're designing them, we don't give consideration to the weight, and when we're considering the tension of the string. The weight of the metal is so much higher than the weight of the coating that it's negligible.
Okay, so I hand over to Christoph, who can give you feedback. He tested it on the Strat scale length, and I think he has some feedback for you.
Yes, so the first thing I realized when I put on the strings, I'm used to non-coated strings. First thing I realized, they felt like, also others said it's like a little soapy on the first, was the first impression. Less tension than the same strings gauge than regular strings. But after 2 days, I didn't feel a difference anymore. It was really very exciting to see how soon you get used to them and how great they sound. Even after intensive playing. As I told you before, I used them on a Telecaster with open tunings and with standard tunings, with slide and normal playing. And the strings just played along very well. I'm really very satisfied with the strings.
Good.
And I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to test them. And now I think I have a lifetime supply of strings.
Good, that's good.
Is a lifetime supply of strings, is that from the business point a good or a bad thing?
Honestly, I'm happy to give it to him. So he helped us out. Getting that feedback is so helpful. I'm happy to give him a lifetime supply. That's great.
But like on the pricing, basically the price is not as much higher as the playtime you get out of them in regular use. Why don't you make them not that good and sell more over time?
So for us, what we're trying to do is make it so that we want strings are a tool for guitarists to be able to get a great tone, right? And we want to make something that's going to give them a great tone for as long as possible. So we want to make something that works really well. We don't want to make it less good. We want to make it even better, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, in regard to that soapy feeling, he said, I think I found feedback where at the beginning also a bending of notes, because the sort of the contact between the string and the frets was a bit different than they've been used to. So I think they had some problems as well adjusting the right amount of bend.
I see. Well, that might get back to some of the construction points that I was saying. It's like going from brand to brand, sometimes there are a little bit differences in the nuance. And you get so used to one feeling, one guitar, one setup. A small change, a small tweak can really have a big impact. And if you think about even adjusting the action on your bridge, even a small change can have a pretty big impact on how the guitar feels and plays and how you respond to it. So it might be a little bit of like you were saying, that getting having a little bit of difference there, and then how quickly you adapt to it as well. So it might be a small change if you're coming from a different brand, but I think the turnover time, the transition time is very quick, it's comfortable, and hopefully, as you notice, as you play them over time, the tone's going to sustain over a long time, and that's really the core value that we're bringing there, that long tone life.
With all the coating experience of Goro/Gore-Tex behind the company, how close are the materials? Cousins or brothers, or?
So all the materials are made with the same precursor, right? That EPTFE. So everything Gore makes is made with EPTFE. So our strings are utilizing that material, but there's so many different ways to make it, so many different ways to stretch it and make it into something different, which is why it's such a really remarkably versatile material. So part of the secret to our sauce is how we manipulate those materials to get the properties that we want. I was describing it earlier as like building a house with steel, and if you want to make it half as heavy, you want to make it half the weight, you can cut it in half, use half the materials, but then it's half as strong. So the challenge for us with Optiweb is how do we make something that's still as durable, but make it lighter, make it so it's even less impactful to the string, but still maintains that strength. And that was the challenge. That was what we had to do internally to tweak the material dynamics to make it do what it needs to do.
Is the feedback that we got from the users that kind of crisp stands for a quicker reaction than the more coated strings you have, and natural means there's not incredible amount of highs or lows in there, it's more like a warmer string? Is that matching your expectation when building the string and when putting the crisp and natural label on it?
So when we were thinking crisp and natural, the crisp definitely. So we got crisp like a very strong transient, a very crisp attack. That very it's that snappiness that you get out of an uncoated string, right? The natural feel was some feedback that we had heard about. The fact that when you're playing it, it felt less like a coated string than maybe a NanoWeb or Polyweb. But, you know, to each their own. Everybody's a little bit different. And everyone hears things a little bit differently. Everyone feels things a little bit differently. The best thing I can say is give them a try. Put them on your guitar and see what you think. Compare them to what you're used to. And I think people will be really pleasantly surprised. It's going to feel more like an uncoated string than any Elixir strings they've played in the past. It's going to sound like an uncoated string, but it still has the long tone life that players expect with Elixir strings.
And one for Christoph as well. Now that you've played the strings already, although you're getting more supply, when will be the first time you're going to change them?
I will see. So far I don't see any reason to change them. And the great thing is, now after getting used to them, they feel like the normal strings on my other guitar. And I'm really looking forward to putting the strings also on my other guitars as well. Because I think they give a great sound, great feeling, and if they have the durability, then it's perfect.
So, and I have one final one to you, because you might help our users. And we talked a little bit about that on a NAMM side note. One of our users had problem with the coating going off the string. I think in the picking area, basically. What do you have to do to get the coating off the string? Or better, what do you not do, like cleaning, fast frets, whatsoever, to make sure the coating stays intact?
Gotcha. So as far as cleaning the strings, there's nothing that you need to do to clean the strings. You can wipe them off with a dry cloth to get any moisture off. That'll help. But, I mean, they're coated, so they're already protected. Some players prefer to have a very, very slick and fast feel. So if you do and you prefer fast fret, you can utilize that, but we don't encourage players to use any lubricants or cleaners or anything on the strings. As far as the coating and the wear, so you're right. Usually when the coating begins to wear, and the coating will wear over time, it's not completely bulletproof. So as what? So as you're playing it, it's going to wear in the spot where you're picking typically. So under it, if you're a right-handed player, underneath your right hand, near the sound hole if you're an acoustic player. So that's going to be the spot where you'll start to see it. But I always tell people, don't let your eyes be the judge of how it sounds. So if you start to see some coating wear, use your ears. If the tone still sounds good, the tone is good. But the coding will wear over time, but that visual cue is not an indication of tone life. Follow your ears. But as far as things to do to keep it from wearing, just play as you normally do. If you compare that to an uncoated set of strings, I think you'll find that the tone of our strings are going to last longer than any other string that you put on your guitar.
Christoph, the overall game, did you like the idea we had?
Yes, really liked it, and glad I was the lucky winner of the strings. They were really good.
So I think a big thank you to Musiker-Board, thank you to Elixir, thank you for the feedback, and if we find more stuff you should know about your strings, we will let you know.
Absolutely. Please do.
Thank you.
Thanks.